Okay, how's everybody doing? So, welcome to the Boomer Bench. Did you like that intro? I like the part where you sort of descend down like a submarine going below the surface. um, I'd like to preface with a couple of things before we get started on part two here. I think sometimes when I do this vloggy kind of tutorial style, um, I can kind of give you a mini update, like in the beginning, like just sort of like include more, like make the whole video a little more richer in terms of keeping you in the loop. And I know that people had mentioned early on, like, that they do like the commentary, they like the stories, they like, like a mix of all of it. And I do too, and that's why I try to do the intros a little differently. Like, I don't like the sort of redundant over and over again, the same pasted in, intro. I like to be as creative as I can because I think it matters to the community. Just to keep it more interesting and stuff, and to be more natural uh, in the way I approach the hobby every day when I come to this bench and then stand up and work on the layout and so on. But man, do I ever like the way that the West Side Brewery. By the way, that's the name, the West Side Brewery. It's not the real name, but it's the name, for the purposes of the layout. I like the way it's turning out right now, and I know there's some compromises, but what I'm going to do is I just want to mention quickly about hard work, but I want to also mention about a good comment that was raised by somebody that posted a couple episodes ago or whatever, and they asked about jigs. Like, can you mention the jigs I use? Now, look, like, I don't really want to disappoint you, and I think that's an excellent question, but this is my jig. This little maple table with a backstop, this square here, this square, and this clamp, and these sanding blocks, like, they're all multi-purpose. So I just clamp them, like I'll even glue like a piece of wood down temporarily to do a piece, and then just pop it, so that I have my space again. I try to be as efficient as I can. I know that seems maybe different than what people are used to, but that's just the way I am. It's just, the method that I have adapted over the years. I don't really want to change it because it works. Now, just to mention in hard work, the reason why I mentioned hard work is a virtue worth fighting for, because obviously with the boomer generation, they understand that. Like, they really do. Like, to say that boomers are entitled is just simply not true. Maybe some of us were, but I certainly wasn't. And I worked hard. That's the way my father raised me. And, I kind of apply the same virtue to the model railroad, in this case, the immersive shelf layout, because you can see that it's all very contained, right? I can sort of descend down to my bench here, go up, and it's just something that, like, it's like writing a little novel and working hard at it. I heard a little monologue, actually from a sports journalist of all things, the other day on the radio, and he had mentioned that there's only two things you can do if your career comes to a stalemate. And I think that applies to maybe the model railroad as well. Like, if your model railroad project comes to a stalemate, there's only two things you can do. One is quit. I know that sounds shocking, but you can quit, or you can work harder. And when I say work harder, I don't mean like turn your joy and your hobby into like work. But let's face it, like, some of the best modelers out there that I've looked at, like other YouTube channels, I'll bet you 10 to 1 if you asked them, they'd tell you that they work hard on it. They're thinking about it, they're planning, they're researching, they're sketching drawings, they're building models, they're laying terrain, track, paint. It is. You have to devote time. You have to. Like at my age now, I'm what, 60? I got rid of, like, I loved hobbies growing up. I built huge RC airplanes. I built every kind of model there is, but I eventually realized later, I thought, I got to focus in on one thing, and I want to do it well. So you can choose, and I know there's a lot of modelers out there that are really good at doing a lot of things, because that's generally what a modeler is. They kind of like to solve problems. That's what a kit building is. When we were kids, that's why model kits were so popular, because it was a problem-solving thing. So you do have to apply a kind of hard work ethic at times. You can coast along and have fun, like, I get that, and I do that. But man, layer after layer after layer, and but man, the rewards are great, aren't they? Anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. So I really enjoyed the comments over this brewery extractor. Like some of them vary, like, and they all seem plausible. I kind of like the one where somebody said where it siphons off the slurry, and then the vent pipe on the side here, which is kind of a neat feature on this because it kind of, you know, just the way it, the size of it and everything, is a sort of a vent or a drying feature on the apparatus. Like, I don't know, you know, like, and then some people said that it's used for animal feed, probably, I guess. But it sure is interesting, isn't it? You know, how just building a model like this would compel you to research and find out, and you'd be that interested in it. But anyway, another thing is too, is before I get on with the sort of the tutorial build here, sometimes you'll see that the project seems further ahead than the video because it's just the nature of the chronology of video production. But truck, like the truck fits in here perfectly, right? Like just like in this photo here, like a truck comes over like this and backs in. Like it can't go straight in. Well, it could if, but it would have to back out like on the prototype. So, you know, at one point the warehouse was served by rail, but I don't believe that the actual this extractor, or somebody had mentioned about a grain elevator, it must be on the roof. Well, actually the grain elevator is around the corner and it's served by truck. You can notice in the intro video in the last episode when I pan, or no, was it the one before where I pan, you see the truck there. Because I saw it one day, I watched it. And so he dumps the grain. It gets, it's a pressure feed or something, and it goes up into the grain. And then this, of course, when I talked to the individual, he said that, you know, they drain, like he was sort of vague about it, but, you know, they recover something here, and then off they go to another industry. But anyway, so let's move on to the part 2 here of the brewery extractor. Okay, so let's just call this the hop cylinder then, and so I need to find the center of this circle. So there's several ways to do it. The one way that I do it that works pretty good is I just run 2 parallel lines. I just lay it, like for example, this works here, this space. I just make sure that both parallel lines are parallel and that they're equal distance apart from the outer circumference of the circle. And then you just draw 2 lines like this. One there and one here. Okay. And then all you do is you draw from that corner down to this corner a line like that. And a line like that. And that's your center. Okay. So I'm going to drill holes here. There's going to be railings on this. I'm going to make them out of brass because I know they'll get broken because I made them out of plastic on the grain elevator. I was rushing it, I guess, back then when I did it, and of course they've been broken 2 or 3 times by just the hand brushing against it. So I'm just going to drill these out because this is fairly thick here, the PVC pipe. Is, I think it's about 3 mil thick. So there's some good solid plastic in there to hold the brass railings up. And okay. Okay, so I just want to revisit the cone or the funnel for the hops canister here. One of the reasons why a lot of people don't make their own grain elevators or cylinders is because I think they're afraid to make these funnels, and they're really quite easy to make. And one other thing I should mention that I forgot to mention, that when you cut, so here's the template, right? So when you cut your piece out of 10 thou, like you just scribe it, and right, easy, super easy. Just get one of these Olfa circle cutters from a office supply store, like they have them. Okay, they probably won't have one at a hobby shop, but these are invaluable. I've had this one for 25 years or something. Anyway, 30 years, I think. These things have been around for ages. So, like when you cut your plastic circle piece. In this case, this is paper. Make sure you drill like a 1/8 hole in the center. I forgot to mention that. That's important afterwards because it allows it to pinch easier when you wrap it, like when you slide it and roll it. So this is 1 5/16 OD, right? So all I did was take a rough estimate, like halfway. I thought, okay, 2.5 inch circumference is 1 1/4 on the compass, right? 1 1/4 to 2.5, so it gives you 2.5. So then I just lay that up on the plastic and then cut it out like I showed, and then I just roll it, wrap it, tape it, glue it. It doesn't really matter, like you just eyeball it, right? Like just like you want to be able to come maybe just inside in this case anyway. You don't always have to. A lot of times you can just make it just right to the diameter of the cylinder like that. And then with a piece of strip, like you can clean up the edge of this to strip around. Like that's what I did with the grain elevator. And it worked out really good. But I'll show you how to deal with the overlap and the run out there. So anyway, so you get that done. And these are so easy to make. And you can make several of them just in case you flub one. So in this case, you can see that, there was a little bit of a rough seam like after it was glued here. But I just worked it over with the board sander, right? Because, so it's 10 thou. So there's 3 layers there. Or 2, 2.5, 3, depending here, but 2 all around. So it actually becomes 20 thou. So there's adequate thickness there to sand and to lose the seam, right? Nicely. Okay, so now I've got this run out edge here that's kind of ugly. I want to lose that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just measure this from the tip, like 32, or let's just say 30 millimeters. I'm just going to make a mark there, and then I'm going to go down another 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch and make a mark there, make a mark there, and just get a guideline. And then I'm just going to trim that up the bottom, and then I'm going to board sand this so it's nice and flat and level. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack it just like I did the strip. I'm just going to tack it one there. Like I'm going to line it up. I'm going to press it in because any oblongness, when you press it down like this, it's going to level and it's going to go perfectly round. Okay. So you just tack that, and then you get that glued on, right, by wicking in some cement there when it's on there nice like that. And when it's all set up and done nice, then you can trim the end of this off. But you can just board sand it away to get a flat spot here. Just eyeball it in. Okay. Pretty simple to build a funnel, really. Right?